Aokigahara, the sea of trees, spreads like a frozen wave at the northwest base of Mount Fuji. From above, it is a lush, tranquil carpet of green. But beneath the canopy, the forest floor is uneven, riddled with jagged lava rocks from the great eruption of 864 AD. Here, the roots of cedars and cypresses twist above ground, grasping at the air like skeletal fingers. The famous silence is not true silence. It is the absence of wind, the muffling of footsteps, and the strange, oppressive stillness that absorbs all sound, even the scream of a dying man. I stepped off the marked trail at 7:13 a.m. My phone had no signal. My map was a lie I told myself. I carried a nylon rope, coiled neatly in my backpack, and a letter in my pocket that I would never send. The air smelled of wet earth and decay, but also of something sweet, like overripe persimmons left to rot. I told myself I was looking for a quiet place to think, but my legs knew the truth. They kept walking inward, away from the tourist signs that warned in Japanese and English. Your life is a precious gift from your parents. For decades, the forest has claimed over 100 souls each year. Some come from Tokyo, weary of salaries and silent apartments. Some come from Osaka, fleeing shame or debt. They bring tents, tarps, and, most disturbingly, guides to the best spots, shared on dark corners of the internet. They call it Jukai, the sea of trees, but older locals call it the place where the dead gather. They say the magnetic iron deposits in the volcanic rock interfere with compasses. Scientists confirm this is partly true, but no instrument can measure the other pole, the quiet, insistent whisper that seems to come from between the trees themselves. I found a cave, not a real cave, but a hollow formed by 3 fallen trunks leaning against a boulder. Inside, someone had been there before me. A blue tarp, ripped and faded. A half-empty bottle of water, green with algae. And a single black sneaker, size small, maybe a woman's. I sat down and pulled out my rope. I tied a loop, tested the knot. It held. Then I heard it. Not a voice, not a wind, a pressure, like someone standing behind me, breathing on my neck. I turned. Nothing, but the rope felt heavier in my hands. Locals tell stories of eerie, the restless ghosts of those who died violently or with unresolved attachments. In Aokigahara, these spirits are said to linger, trapped by the forest's unique geology and the sheer weight of accumulated grief. Psychologists call it emotional contagion. But the survivors who have walked back out describe something more specific, a sudden, overwhelming certainty that death is not only acceptable but correct. As if the forest itself is a consciousness that feeds on despair. I started walking again. The rope stayed in my bag, but now I was following something, a faint rustle, like silk dragging on leaves. I told myself it was an animal, a fox, maybe, but foxes don't walk in straight lines, and this sound led me deeper. Past ribbons tied to branches, markers left by previous visitors so they wouldn't get lost. Except these ribbons weren't tied by survivors. They were tied by people who had already decided to stay. I stopped counting after 30 ribbons. The forest's suicide magnetic field is a phrase that appears in sensationalist tabloids, but the reality is more insidious. Compasses do malfunction here, yes, but so does the human sense of time. Watches tick slower in some pockets of Aokigahara, or so claim the few who have spent a night there and lived to speak. More terrifying is the disorientation of empathy. One woman, rescued in 2019, said she suddenly understood why the previous person had chosen that tree, that branch. She felt not horror, but envy for the dead. I saw a tent, green like the leaves. It was unzipped. Inside, a sleeping bag unrolled, and a stack of letters, weighted by a stone. I should have walked away. Instead, I opened the top letter. It was written in neat, small handwriting. I am sorry to whoever finds this. I am not sad. I am tired. Please tell my mother I loved her ramen. My hands shook. I looked up at the branch above the tent. A broken rope, still tied, swaying slightly. No body. They had cut him down. Or maybe the forest took him another way. Rangers patrol twice a week. They find bodies in various states, some dignified, hands folded, others fragmented by animals. They carry long poles to probe dense thickets. They have learned not to look directly into the faces. The worst discoveries are not the fresh corpses, but the old ones, reduced to bones and clothing, with notes still legible in plastic bags. One note simply read, "Too quiet to live." I sat down against a tree. I pulled out my own letter. I had written it 7 times. This version said, "I lost my job. My wife took our daughter. I have no one. This is my choice." But as I read it aloud, the words felt borrowed, not mine, like someone else's sorrow had leaked into my pen. The forest hummed. No, it absorbed my voice. The trees swallowed each syllable. For the first time, I felt truly alone. Not the lonely of a crowded train, the lonely of a universe that had forgotten I existed. That is the true horror of Aokigahara. It offers not violence but confirmation. It whispers back to your darkest thoughts and says, "Yes, you are right. There is no point." It weaponizes your own hopelessness against you. Some researchers speculate about infrasound, low-frequency vibrations from the wind passing through dense branches, inducing anxiety and dread. Others point to the lack of animal life. Few birds nest here. Even insects are scarce. The forest is a biological desert wearing a costume of green. I stood up. I don't know why. My legs moved before my mind did. I walked away from the tree, away from the tent, away from the rope. I followed the ribbons in reverse. Some were old, some new. One was tied with a hair scrunchie, pink. I touched it. It felt warm, as if someone had just let go. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Fast. I ran. I didn't look back. Branches clawed my face. Roots tripped me. I fell, got up, fell again. And then I saw the parking lot, a tourist bus, a woman eating an ice cream cone. Kaito walked out of the forest at 4:52 p.m. He did not speak for 3 days. When he finally did, he said only, "The forest didn't want me. It wanted the idea of me." The rope was still in his backpack. The letter was gone, lost somewhere among the roots and the ribbons and the quiet bones. He deleted the address he had bookmarked for the best spots. He never returned to Aokigahara, but sometimes on windless nights, he swears he can still hear it, the faint sound of silk dragging on leaves, calling him back. Aokigahara is not haunted by ghosts. It is haunted by the living, by everyone who has ever stood at its edge and felt the strange, seductive pull of the magnetic field. The field is real, but it is not iron or lava that creates it. It is the accumulated silence of every person who walked in and never walked out. That silence has a voice, and once you hear it, a part of you stays behind forever. The sea of trees does not kill. It simply agrees with you, and sometimes that is worse.